Hey, it's Tom and Lacey of Do You Nerd?
You are watching Christopher Pico, the old-ass retro gamer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the next installment of the Video Game Collection 2022 live streams. Chris, the old-ass retro gamer here. Today, I'm going to talk all about the first half of my Sega Saturn collection. Let me see. Where's Saturn? Okay, so when the Saturn was released, when the Saturn was first released, it came out out of nowhere. I remember there was I think it was E3 or something, where the dude who ran Sega of America was just kind of oh, by the way, the Saturn's out this weekend, and just kind of took everybody by surprise. They wanted to beat the PlayStation to the market. Well, I fell for it. Came out on a Friday or something like that, and then on Sunday I actually went and picked it up. I don't call it buying it on day one. Obviously, I did not buy it on that Friday, but I did run out and pick it up the weekend that it was released because I loved the Genesis. I loved the Sega CD. I was kind of getting sick of my 3DO. My Super Nintendo, I was pretty much still playing quite a bit. Didn't have a Sega CD or a Genesis anymore at this point. So it was just basically my Game Gear, probably my Jaguar still at that point, my Super Nintendo, and the 3DO, and that was it. What's up, Black Oh, it's Nintendo in the house. So yeah, I ran out and picked it up on day one, picked up a copy of, Clockwork Knight, and I think Panzer Dragoon, day one. And that basically broke me for the rest of the 2 weeks that my paycheck schedule was for. I was eating ramen for the rest of those 2 weeks. And I really liked it. I was telling all my friends about it, and I was like, look, this is the new Sega console. Come over and check it out. And a bunch of people did come over. Some of them were just kind of like, this is bullshit. Wait for the PlayStation. The PlayStation is going to be the thing. I'm like, Sony has never made a console before. This is probably going to be a big joke. And, kind of didn't turn out that way. But I was full aboard the Saturn train for a good year and a half, I want to say. Even as the PlayStation came out, I was still a big Saturn proponent. I was totally for it. What's up? What's up, Midwest Media Show? Yeah, my background is different. Things have happened. Mm-hmm. You'll get a glimpse of it at the end of the month at the pickups video. But yeah, things have happened. So anyway, I remember it was like a year and a half after I got my Saturn. I had gotten kind of sick of it. It was right after Panzer Dragoon Saga came out. I played through Saga, and I was like, okay, I don't think it's going to get any better than this. Nice. Well, all the likes help, bro. I was like, it's not going to get any better than this. I think I just bought Burning Rangers and House of the Dead, and I think I was like, yeah, I'm playing my PlayStation more. I don't think I want this console anymore. So I sold it, and I sold it to a girl that I work with. Her boyfriend wanted it. And it was like 3 or 4 months later, she came back to me. She's like, yeah, he wants to sell it back to you, or he wants his money back. And I was like, no, I'm not giving you his money back. He paid for it. Like, he got sick of it, kind of like I did. I'm like, no, that's it. You're done. It's yours now. If you want to sell it, take it to Funkoland or something and get rid of it, because I'm not buying it back. So that was that. And then I want to say, maybe around 98 or something like that was when I got the bug back, and I really wanted my Saturn back. Because I missed it. I missed playing Panzer Dragoon Saga, and Burning Rangers I did like, so I wanted to get that back into my collection. And I did. Nobody was giving a crap about the Saturn at this point, so I have copies of those games. They're the original copies that I had bought. So I got back into it heavily, and the Saturn that I have right now is the exact same Saturn that I bought that second time around. It's the exact same one, and it works perfectly fine. I love it to this day, even though it's an extremely expensive console to collect for. It's easier to go for the import games, but right now, outside of the Polymega, there really isn't a way to play these on an emulation console without, just using an emulator on your computer or something like that, where you can install a downloadable translation patch for these games. Sad, my Polymega still hasn't shown up, so I'm still stuck using my Saturn, and I do have quite a bit of import games that I've purchased over the years. The first one I'm going to talk about is special. But anyway, why do I do these streams? I don't do it to brag about anything. I do it to, number one, talk to everybody. Look how many people here. This is awesome. I do it to talk to everyone. I do it because it's good content for the channel. I do it to have a record of all the games in my collection, just in case something bad happens. And number 4, it's fun. So let's get to it. Because of this thing right here, the thing that has taken its place, I am developing a very bad blister on my finger, and it hurts like hell. So my hands are shaking because of what I've been doing all day with the thing that replaced this. So yeah, bear with me. I'm just throwing hints all over the place. Little drinky drink first. Yeah, hearing people say they didn't like the Saturn. Yeah, there was one. A couple of my close friends. I don't really talk to them that much anymore. They moved out of state. But they had a friend who, every time I would say the word Sega Saturn, would immediately be like, "It's bullshit." It was like he would always follow me saying Sega Saturn with "It's bullshit." And it was like, it's the worst console ever. Oh my God, Sega's just screwed themselves. They shot themselves in the foot. It's the worst console ever made. And then I had a party, and I invited all these people over, and that person came over, and he had absolutely no problem sitting on my floor, or the floor of my family's living room, playing Ultimate Mortal Kombat all night long on my Saturn. Had no problem with it. Had no problem playing Baku against other people and losing. Had no problem playing Bust a Move and losing. So after that night, every time he would say it's bullshit, I was just like, really? Because the bed sores you got on your ass say otherwise. What's up, Brandon? How's it going? Better be ready for tomorrow. Oh, bro, I am. Yeah, they kind of did. And the way they kind of just dropped it on everybody, media show or Dan, the way they just kind of went oh, by the way, it's out this weekend. That was, I think, another thing where everyone was like, I'm not prepared. And they just kind of did it to beat Sony to the punch, kind of shot themselves in the foot. Plus, here, it's a really hard console to develop for and all that. And the localizations usually didn't turn out that great. They had way more games in Japan. We didn't get half of them or the third of them over here. Yeah, it's crazy. But I love it to this day. I still play it on the reg. I should probably get some of these stinking controllers and stuff. Shit. I'll be right back. I need to grab something off a shelf. Yeah. Okay, so like I said, I still have my original Saturn. It's in my closet. I don't feel like digging it out. It's under a bunch of stuff. But I do have 2 of the standard controllers. I do have one of the 3D controllers that came with Nights into Dreams that has the rolling thumb stick. But the one that I use all the time now whenever I break my Saturn out is this wireless controller from Retrobit. You actually had to buy a dongle to attach to the console that would actually send the signal to this so it works, which is stupid. Turns out it's like this you can use on any computer that has a Bluetooth option. But if you want to actually use it on the console that it was designed for, instead of giving you this with the console so it actually works, you have to buy this separately, which I was kind of pissed off about, especially when the controller itself was $30 and the dongle was 15. So it's a very comfortable controller. It feels just like the original, except you're not tethered by a cable. And it's pretty awesome. Do I like the Dino Dino Crisis? Maybe? Is that what you're talking about? A controller, a friend of mine has I think he still does have the Virtual On controller. And I've talked to him multiple times about possibly selling it to me because he bought it from Funkoland like when the Saturn was just on the way out. Actually, no, it was probably around 2000 because I remember Funkolands were still around back then. And I've known this guy since 2000. So maybe it's 2001 when he bought it from Funkoland. Like dirt cheap, and I probably should have bought one too. But yeah, he still has it, and he refuses to sell it to me because he's like, well, just in case I want to play the game again, I want to have a controller on hand. I was like, you can come over to my place and play it. I love Dino Crisis. Hang on a second. I need to grab one more thing. Ooh, I'm not prepared tonight. I also have this joystick controller, like arcade stick for the Saturn that I picked up like dirt cheap at one of my local stores. Still has the price tag on. I paid $25 for this thing. I hear it's kind of flimsy, but I have not had any problems with it. It works perfectly fine. Thankfully, the person who owned it before me did not abuse it, so there's that. But I was just super thrilled to find one of those because I've had one of these arcade sticks. Like I had it in my my wish list or whatever, my watch list on Amazon for a long time, and it was always going for like well over $60, and I was like, eh. So there's that. So let's get into these games real quick. Yeah, I took the day off today because of the thing that replaced this in my living room. Because this arcade cab used to be in my living room. Something just replaced it, and I've been working on it all day. That's why my hands are sore. That's why I'm getting a blister. And I actually took the day off, and I'm still not prepared for this damn stream. Not 100% metal. Like I said, I haven't had any problems with it, so I'm cool. All right, so these import games. So the first one is going to make you laugh. This is the one that I think TJ said he was interested in. Let me look it up to see if it actually has a weird Japanese name or not in my app. Sega Saturn. And actually where it belongs in the... alphabet because what it says on the side, I don't think is actually the legit name of this game. Yeah, it is not. So this goes later. Okay, sorry, TJ. You're going to have to wait a minute to see that one. We'll start off with Dead or Alive. I picked this up at one of my old local store, People Play Games, for pretty cheap. I think I paid like $10 for this. And I had this on the PlayStation originally back in the day. Obviously didn't have this. It was an import game. But actually, I prefer this to the PlayStation one. The PlayStation one, for some reason, always seemed a little bit less detailed, a little clunkier in the control department. But the boobs are bouncing so nicely in the Saturn version. I don't get it. It's my preferred version of this game. So I was super thrilled that I had managed to find a copy of it locally and not have to pay top dollar off of the internet. But one-on-one fighting game, Dead or Alive is all about them bouncing breastises. So if you like that kind of thing, you're going to love it. But I think it's a pretty fun game. I enjoy it quite a bit. Make some room here for these games. Them jiggle physics, brah. But I did play the crap out of the PlayStation version when that first came out. Don't get me wrong. I was like, yes, sir. Even though, like, the way those things kind of defied gravity, the way they would flop around, I'm like, those girls will be taking it on the chin every fucking time. Boobs. Take a day off to put together. I'm not saying that's what that was, man. I'm not saying that's what it was, Dan. Sega Pluto. Ooh. What's up, Peter? Next up, we have Deep Fear, which Radical Reggie was talking about on his channel all the time. It's a Japanese exclusive Resident Evil style survival horror game that takes place like in this underwater mining facility. And it's all in Japanese, which kind of sucks. You can also get like a British or a UK version of it that's in English, from what I understand. But whatever. I know that there is a translation patch out there for this. I just need my Poly Mega in order to be able to use it. But it looks pretty cool. It's two... Is it 2 discs? Yeah, it is 2 discs. Don't go into the light. Oh, shit, everything's falling out. Yeah, 2 discs. Manual. And the funny thing is, I found this at my local store, too. And it was pretty cheap. I think this was like $10. And it even comes with the spine pad, or what do they call it? The spine label? Or whatever. OB label or something like that. I cannot remember. Close, damn it. Close! Technical difficulties, everybody. Wow, really? It senses that my hands are shaking from something. But seems pretty cool. Radical Reggie claimed it was amazing, so there's that. Spine card. With the pretty standee. If they're black shoes at the Airbnb at Mo Game Con. I don't know. Were they there before we... No, those were there after the party, wasn't it? Yeah. Next up, we have Digital Pinball Necronomicon. I picked this up at Mo Game Con. Peter was just talking about it. This is where I got it. I've been looking for this for a long time because Metal Jesus talked about this in one of his videos. And I think it was the one with Circuits and Coffee, where they're talking about import Saturn games. And this one is a digital pinball game, but it is like all metal themed, like heavy metal. And that's why Metal Jesus wanted it, or played it so much, why he wanted to talk about it, because, he's into heavy metal. And it jumped up in price right after he talked about it, as things usually happen back when, he was actually more popular, I think, than he is now. But it looked pretty cool. I finally found it for a decent price. Didn't have to buy it online. And it's in great shape. No disc rot on this punk-ass game. But it looks really cool. So, really thrilled about that. Next up we have... I got this off of a Facebook group. Some dude in Italy was selling like his Saturn collection, his import Saturn games. And I jumped on it because he was selling them off for great prices. This one is Dodonpachi. It's a vertically scrolling shmup. I think it's based on an arcade game. Might be a cave shooter. I'm not sure. But it's pretty fun. It's really, really hard, like all of these kind of shooters are. But I love it. I haven't beaten it yet, but I played it quite a bit when it first showed up. I kind of got addicted to those kind of shooters for a little while because I had gotten a bunch of Dreamcast games around the same time that were really expensive, and I played the crap out of them. Danpachi. The Saturn has so many good shmups. Oh, yeah, I got a bunch of them here, bro. Next up, I think I have a special box for this up here somewhere. Was it up there? See, I told you I wasn't prepared. God dang. Be happy I'm wearing pants tonight, guys. So this one I had to really search for online, and I was trying to find a really good price. It was always really expensive to get it complete in the box, but I did manage to track one. It took about a month for me to track one down on eBay, and that is the Dungeons and Dragons collection. This has both of the arcade Dungeons and Dragons games in it, and it comes in a double CD case and all that. One game is on each disc. Yep. So you've got Shadow over Mystara and Tower of Doom. I remember playing these in the arcade. They are super fun. And I was always sad that they never got like a home console release because these would have been great on the Super Nintendo. But we didn't get them over here. This was only released in Japan. Later on, we did get the games on like the PlayStation Store for the PS3, maybe. But I did end up getting that physical from Japan, which is awesome. But anyway, like I had to really try to get a copy of this, and the reason I wanted it complete was because it comes in this gigantic outer box for a reason. Because the second game, Tower of Doom, requires this 4 megabyte expansion cartridge that you plug into the back of the Saturn and the cartridge port to expand the RAM capabilities so it's able to play the game smoothly. Only problem is, because I have an American Saturn and not a Japanese one, is you have to use one of these types of cartridges. What is mine? An Action Replay that I have that you have to plug into that cartridge slot that lets you play all the import games on an American Saturn. Well, I can't play Tower of Doom because in order to play an import game, I have to have that Action Replay plugged in, and I need this to be plugged in. So I'm kind of screwed. So the only one I can play on here is Shadow over Mystara, which is fine. It's a great game. I have the other one on my PlayStation 3 compilation, which is okay, fine, whatever. But I just wanted to have the complete version of it here. I do wish that we got these on like the Super Nintendo or something. That would have been fantastic. Capcom really dropped the ball on that one. But whatever. I'll put that box over here. But the game, I've only played the Shadow over Mystara on this compilation. I've actually invited my buddy Charlie, Epic Die Studio, over because he's a huge D&D fan, to come over and play it with me, and we beat it in one sitting. It is super fun. It's like basically a fantasy-styled final fight game. It's like a beat-em-up, but you have like magic abilities and stuff like that, and you can level up and everything. It is super fun. I love it a lot. But there's that. So happy for them pants, yep. Well, it's because last night we did a test stream for the... was it last night? No. Tuesday night we did a test stream for the D&D campaign, and I forgot that I was not wearing pants when we were meeting up online. Yeah, the newer Action Replays double as a ramp. Ooh, I must have done... What's up, David? How's it going? I can get a cheap... I'm probably just going to buy a cheap Japanese Saturn and get it, just get it over with. Okay, dude. I'll talk to you later, Peter. Next up, we have another shmup, but this is a shmup compilation. This is the Gradius Deluxe Pack. This has Gradius 1 and... I think it's Gradius 1 and 2 on it. Yep, Gradius 1 and 2. Gopher no Yabao. I think they released Gradius 2 over here as Nemesis. And these are like arcade perfect ports of the first two games. Cool thing is, the guy that I bought this from, this is that guy, I got a bunch of shmups, actually nothing but shmups from that dude in Italy, from that Facebook group. This was one of the other ones I bought. Another one's coming up later. But the cool thing about this one, which is why I wanted to get it from him, was originally this came with like some extras, and he still had them in here. And not only did it come with the spine card, well, shit, I just dropped something, and the original registration card. Come back here, you punk ass. Ow. That's my noggin. Get over here. Dropping shit. Also, there was like this scratch card for some kind of competition or contest or something like that. It's been scratched off. I don't know what it says. Probably could use one of the apps on my phone. But it also came with this make your own Vic Viper ship. And it has these two things. You're supposed to cut these like out, and you can like make your own Vic Viper paper ship. And it shows you where you're supposed to slide the pieces together and all that, where you make snips and all that. And I was like, that is the coolest damn thing I've ever seen. I am not making the Vic Viper ship. I will not destroy these. But it's awesome that that was a thing that they released with this game. And there's the manual on how to make it. That is rad as hell. I was like, okay, that's mine. I may not be the biggest, greatest fan, but that right there sold me on it. Hang on a second. So there's that, and you can kind of see some of it on the back. There isn't a whole lot to show. It's just like one screen cap from the first game, one screen cap from the second. Next up we have, of course I had to have this, Hokuto no Ken, also known as the Fist of the North Star. One of my goals still to this day is to get all of the console Fist of the North Star games. I need to get the import, what is it, Ken's Rage 2 that only was released for the PS3 in Japan. That's probably my next big acquisition. And the thing about this is, if you've ever played Godzilla on the Super Nintendo, the way the fights happen in this is like there's like a meter that you need to hit. It's like playing a golf game. There's like a meter for like when you need to hit the button in the right time to perform like a strong hit or a low or a weak hit or something like that. You can kind of see it on the back beneath the animation stuff. There's like all those meters and all that. That's all about trying to, get the maximum amount of power into your attacks. And then as you do that, there's like an anime that plays out above that to show you the fight happening, which is kind of a cool idea. So I had to get this. I remember I ordered this off of eBay, and it took like 2 months for this thing to show up. I actually thought it got lost in the mail, but whatever. Sometimes ordering shit from Japan just does not work out the way you would think it does. Next up, we have Hyper Reverthion. I picked this up out of a lot on eBay of random ass Saturn games, and this is like playing Virtualon, except everything's like very insectoid looking. And I thought they looked kind of neat. I like Virtualon, so I wanted to pick this one up. And if I remember right, when I worked out how much I paid for each game, because it was, like I said, it was in a lot, I probably paid like $10 or $11 for this. So I was like super thrilled to get another game in my collection from Japan. This one I found at Half Price Books of all frickin' places. And I need to look up the name of this one because it's weird. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Oh, actually, I shouldn't talk about this. Okay, TJ, this is the one that I've had this ever since probably 2000. I bought this off of, it was like one of the first things I bought off of eBay. I couldn't play it on my Saturn. I didn't know about the action replay trick yet. I bought it because I was a fan of this TV show, and I just wanted to have it because it's cool that this exists. Are you ready? The name of this is Kitchen Stadium Tour Ryori no Tetsujin Iron Chef. This is the Iron Chef, the Japanese Iron Chef game. Not really a game. There is no gameplay. It's like a virtual tour of the kitchen stadium from the TV show. And you can go to the different stations, and then you'll have like this person telling you what each station does, who usually like who's won the most matches, playing on that side of the room, that kind of thing. Who's competed, and then you can go up and look at the portraits of the Iron Chefs up on top of the stand, and it'll tell you information about all of the Iron Chefs and all that. There's really nothing to it. It's just, I loved Iron Chef. I used to have every episode that was released on Food Network. I used to have every episode on VHS. I taped every single one of them, and I would watch them all the time. I loved that show. There was a Twitch channel that for some reason disappeared, that played nothing but Iron Chef 24 hours a day. And I would be at work on my lunch break watching that. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I love it. I still love it to this day. There's a channel on my Samsung TV that plays that kind of stuff all day long. So I just wanted to have this because I'm a fan, not because I actually wanted to play the game. Like I said, there's nothing to it. just a tour program. Next up is the other one, the one that I found at Half Price Books. This one is called Mobile Suit Gundam Giren's Greed. I saw it for like $5 at Half Price Books, and I was just like, holy shit, when am I going to ever find an import Sega Saturn game at a Half Price Books again? I didn't care what it was. I just bought it. And what it is like a tactical strategy game. I haven't played it, actually. I'm not really a fan of Gundam, but like I said, finding a super cheap import Sega Saturn game at Half Price Books was just kind of like, yeah, just give it to me. So I just bought it, and I still have not played it at all. But for some reason, it's a little bit thicker than your standard Saturn case. It's a little bit thicker than a normal jewel case, and it's because the manual in this thing is like thick with 2 C's. This thing is like big time thick. So it's obviously pretty complicated, and since I don't speak Japanese, it's all going to be lost on me. So that's another reason why I've been afraid to play it, because I'm probably not going to know what the hell's going on, or how to play it, or anything else, and it'll make me cry. So there's that. Get in there, Damat. So yep, I think it's the only Gundam game I actually own. The Great British Bake Off, that's on that channel too. They like cycle between like Kitchen Nightmares, Hell's Kitchen, Iron Chef, the Great British Bake Off, or one of those British. It's not the Great British Bake Off. It's some Australian cooking show. Yeah, it's the accents that get me. But British Bake Off, isn't that on Netflix? Maybe. Gundam on the Dreamcast is good. Obviously I have a complete Dreamcast collection. I actually got this one, and I think one other game in here from a coworker. She was going through her closet, and she found like a box of her ex-husband's like video game stuff. There was a PSP in there, a couple of movies that you could play on the PSP, and a bunch of games. There was like some import Saturn games in there. She just kind of went like, yeah, I don't want these out of my house. This belongs to my ex-husband. Do you want it? I was like, I'll take anything you got. And she gave me a copy of Pocket Fighters. So this is essentially just a Street Fighter game, but everybody is super deformed. Everyone's got like a little tiny body and a big ass head. And it's actually pretty good. And Saturn was known for being like a 2D powerhouse console. Like if you were doing hand-drawn animation kind of stuff like Street Fighter 2, let's say, or something like Darkstalkers, like it's going to look and play the best on this console, and they were usually right. So this is pretty awesome that she gave this to me, and I really liked it. I never even knew that game existed until she handed me that box of stuff. So when I said that I never thought I would find another import Sega Saturn game at Half Price Books, and then I want to say like maybe a year later, I found another one called Quantum Gate 1. Yeah, Quantum Gate 1. Yeah, Quantum Gate 1. There's it looks like there's a subtitle on the front, but it just says AD 2057. And I think this is a visual novel because it looks like there's like conversation choices and stuff like that. It looks kind of like Myst. So I have not played this yet either because I will not be able to play it. I was just super stoked to find another freaking import Sega Saturn game at Half Price Books. So I bought it. And then is this the last one that I got from that dude? I think so. Yeah, this is the last game I got from that dude in Italy. And I was talking to, I think it was Mondane, where I was trying to convince to get this, but the Salamander Deluxe Pack Plus. So Salamander in Japan is what we know as Life Force on the NES. And this has 3 full games on it. It has the Japanese arcade version of Salamander. It has Life Force, the Nintendo version of Life Force, and then the arcade exclusive of Salamander 2. So I absolutely love Salamander / Life Force. It's the greatest game I do like because to me it feels like I'm playing in a horror movie because you're like moving through the body of a creature. You're like inside its body, and like all these gross things are coming after you. So I always kind of associate it with like playing through like an outer space horror movie kind of thing. So it kind of appeals to me more than just shooting random spaceships. So that was kind of cool that he had this available. I've never played Salamander 2 before, and I've never played the arcade version of Salamander. So I was super thrilled to get this, and it was dirt cheap too. The way this guy was selling these, and because I bought like 3 games at once, he gave me a discount. So I'm super happy that is in my collection. You play Life Force 2? Yep. This is the other game I got from my coworker. All the stuff that belonged to her ex-husband. This one's got like a weird name too. But this one is based on an anime that I actually really enjoy, and that is the Super Dimension Fortress Macross. Do you remember love? With a question mark. Do you remember love? And it's a horizontally scrolling shmup, and it took me a while to figure out how to play this, because if you ever watched the Game the Game Grumps when they played the Famicom Transformers game, and they couldn't figure out how to get past like the first section, because like the moment you start, your character is flying. Oh no, your character's driving. You're Optimus Prime. You're driving, and you immediately get killed by a plane. Like it immediately targets you, and you're dead. It's like within the first 3 seconds of playing, you're dead. Same kind of thing happens here. Like you take off from a runway, and you immediately get killed almost. It took me a while to figure out how the game works, because it doesn't really play like your typical horizontally scrolling shmup. It's got like some weird control quirks. But once I figured out what to do, I actually got pretty far into it. It is really fun. Only thing is, all of the cutscenes, which are from the anime, are in Japanese. So, but it's actually pretty fun. I was always curious why it had to come in. Oh, because it comes with 2 discs. That's stupid of me. Oh my god, my brain. It is not working tonight at all. Anyway, actually pretty fun game. I always did like Robotech when I was a kid. I used to watch that anime on every morning before school. Now it means completely different thing to me. I didn't even give a shit about the romance angle of it back in the day, but nowadays it's like, oh, that's really cool. One of the first Saturn imports you got is probably one of the first import Saturn games I got, because I got that when I got back into collecting. It was like right when I started. Gerwalk mode is OP in that game. Woo. So here was the pack-in game that everyone got with, I think everybody got it with the Saturn. It was one of the 2. So we got Virtual Cop. You need, oh shit, I told you I wasn't prepared. I actually have a light gun. I can't use it because I don't have a CRT, but I have a light gun. But the cool thing about it is the plug that would plug into the console has 2 different plug types on it. One of them will plug into a Saturn, and the other side of it will plug into a PlayStation. So that's kind of cool that I found that. I don't know where the hell I got it from. It must have been off of eBay somewhere back in the day. But whatever. I can play this if I had a CRT, but I don't. But yeah, it's just a on-rails shooter with some early polygon graphics. But it's an arcade classic. Can't go wrong. What's up, fuck Google? I have a Predator 3. Oh, is that what that's called? Yeah, it's buried in there. I don't feel like digging it out. And then the other pack-in game is Virtua Fighter, a very early polygon one-on-one fighter trying to compete with Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and honestly didn't really work out too well, but the sequels definitely got better. I will say that. The first one is clunky and slow and janky as all hell, but it's still fun. I remember the arcade when friends of mine couldn't go to the arcade, or like the arcades would close. There was a 7-Eleven by one of my friend Charlie's house, the Epic Die Studio. There was a 7-Eleven by his place that actually had a little mini arcade in the corner, and they had Mortal Kombat 2 and they had Virtua Fighter, and we would play the 2. We would just like switch between the 2 all the time. And it was really cool. We'd be staying up to like midnight, 1 in the morning playing at the 7-Eleven. The guy didn't give a shit as long as we were buying drinks and stuff. He was like, whatever, they're pumping quarters into those machines. I'm getting paid, whatever. So I have a weird affection for this game, even though like nowadays I think it's not fun at all. No, it's actually orange. Yeah, it looks like a Gun-Con from like the PlayStation and PlayStation 2. It looks like a Gun-Con, but it's orange, and just the plug at the end has the plug has like just like one side of it is the PlayStation plug, and the other side of it is the Saturn plug. Here's another survival horror game, and that is Virus. Does this have a weird name? No, it's just virus. Because it says on the side here, hybrid adventure virus. But I think this is another one that Radical Reggie was talking about. But it turns out that like if it's a Saturn game by Hudson, it's usually pretty good. This is another one that's heavy on the Japanese, and I cannot play it at all. This one is actually 3 discs, so it's actually pretty lengthy, which is cool. But I can't really play it because I won't know what the hell's going on. But I always hear it was kind of cool, so I picked it up off of this was in that lot that I got on eBay. And the other game that was in that lot, other than what was it? Jesus, I can't remember what the fuck game it was. Oh, Hyper Reverthion. Was Willy Wombat. It's another Hudson game, and this one is a like isometric view platformer where you're playing as like this wannabe mascot for Hudson, this little vampire-looking wombat who thinks he's Batman kind of thing. It's kind of cool. It's fun. It's just it's kind of clunky, but I do enjoy it. I mean, I got this for I think when you think about how much I spent, it was like $10, $10 or $11. So I'm not going to complain. But yeah, I was really thrilled, and I think that they talked about that in that Metal Jesus video also. So that's it for my imports. I don't have like a ton of them, but I have a decent amount. The Golden Age of light gun shooters. Yeah, I wish I had if I had more room in here. Like the thing that I just got, that's basically taking up the last of like my free space. So they're like I have no room for anything else. I would have a CRT if I could. All right, so I can put the phone away because now I don't need to know about these names. So now we're going to get into the U.S. games, and I do have quite a bit of these, and I found most of these for dirt cheap. Starting off with Astal. This is a side-scrolling platformer that has like hand-drawn animation, and it is really cool, really fun. You have like a picking up and throwing mechanic instead of like a regular old beat 'em up kind of thing. But the graphics are absolutely beautiful. The weird thing is, though, there is nothing on the spine. I don't know if they ever revised this or if this is the way every single copy of this came, but yeah, that's yeah. The only thing is your character is kind of like what do they call it? Super deformed. So he's like super short. You can see him down there in the bottom. He's like a tiny little body and a huge ass head. But Astal is really fun. I need to sit down and play through that. This was a game that when I had my Saturn originally, that guy Rick that I was talking about, that every time I would say the Saturn, he would say is shit or it's trash. This was one of the games that we spent all night playing at that party that I had. And it shocked me that this game and Bust a Move were the ones that got the most play that night. I had fighting games. We played Mortal Kombat or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 a lot that night, but like the puzzle games were the ones that everybody gravitated toward. And it was just weird to me that we're all sitting around getting drunk playing puzzle games on the Saturn. But that's the way it worked. Sega was pissed about another 2D game. Oh, that's weird. But here it's Baku Baku. It's a fun puzzle game. Don't get me wrong. I think this is available on the Master System also. But all it really is like playing Tetris, but instead of matching up like lines of blocks, it's like you have blocks that have food on it. And you have corresponding blocks that have the animal on it that would eat that food. So there's blocks with rabbits on them. The food they ate are carrots. You can line up a bunch of carrot blocks, and once you find a rabbit block comes down, if you put the rabbit block on top of the carrots, it'll eat all the carrot blocks out that are touching. You have monkeys and the bananas that appeal to them, and then you have pandas and bamboo. And it gets really crazy and hectic because blocks start coming down in weird combinations. But we spent all night. Oh, there's dogs too, and there's bones. We spent all night playing this, and it just blew my freaking mind that this was something that like everybody wanted to play until like 3 a.m. But it's the way it worked out. It just shocked the hell out of me. It is a super fun puzzle game. I actually like it more than playing like standard ass Tetris, but it's just one of those things that night I remember sitting on the couch watching these people play, just being like, of all the games I have for us to play, like multiplayer, Baku Baku and Bust a Move. I guess that, whatever made people happy. Here's one of the more expensive games I have in my collection. It's not like super expensive. I have probably one of the most expensive games over here. I'm going to talk about it probably in the next stream. But Batman Forever, the arcade game. I got this off of a Facebook group. I had just gotten my tax return, and I was just kind of like, let's buy one of them expensive games. And then I got it, and I was like, oh, wow. This is not great. So I was not aware that there was a Batman Forever arcade game. Apparently, it was just as bad as the home Batman Forever games that we got on the PlayStation, or not the PlayStation, the Super Nintendo and the Genesis and all that. But this is like a side-scrolling beat-em-up with like the Silicon Graphics type of thing going on from like Killer Instinct and Donkey Kong Country and all that. But it's like so janky and fast, and it's hard to keep track of stuff. There's so much shit flying around on the screen. It's like almost unplayable at times because you cannot figure out what is going on, and you're always being distracted by something else on the screen instead of looking at your character and who's coming after him. But I wanted to get a copy of it. It's also available on the PlayStation. I wanted to get it on the Saturn because why not? Am I happy about it? Not really, but, whatever. Next up I actually have a couple of these games. I think there's one more I need. Battle Arena Toshinden Remix. So like one of the launch games for the PlayStation was Battle Arena Toshinden. I know because it was the game I bought with my PlayStation when I got it. But eventually they got ported over to the Saturn also, and this is the first game. It's just been like tweaked a little bit to work and to be optimized on the Saturn because the Saturn was not known for polygon stuff. Exclusive version with a new character and new moves. The original Battle Arena Toshinden on the PlayStation, it's really clunky nowadays. Back then, I thought it was the greatest freaking thing ever. It was kind of like playing, Virtua Fighter. But this one nowadays is kind of like, oh God, what happened here? But it's a 3D polygon beat 'em up, or one-on-one fighter like Street Fighter. It's almost unplayable nowadays, but it's cool to have because games. And then there's also Battle Arena Toshinden URA, which stands for Ultimate Revenge Attack, and I think this is a port of Battle Arena Toshinden 2, if I remember correctly. Battle Arena Toshinden 2 is definitely a better game than the first, but it's still kind of clunky. I think they kind of got it right by the third one, but by then nobody gave a crap. 2 new fighters. You got Ripper and Ron. 2 new never-before-seen bosses, and 15 bone-crunching stages. Excuse me. Just another one-on-one fighter with polygon characters. Graphics did improve a little bit, but even on the cover, you can see the guy is like looking very Virtua Fighter with all the different squares of color on his arms and stuff. It's kind of funny, actually. They used to have it, wasn't great. Bats are going to battle Garega. Ooh, I have Battle Garega on this PlayStation 4. I have a lot of Saturn games on the PS4. It's weird. I need to replace the cover for this. I actually have replacement cases for these for this in the PlayStation in my closet. I just need to replace it. I found this at Half Price Books, and because of the condition, it was like $5. And that is Battle Stations. It's like playing Battleship without the board. It's basically just like sights, or what I call broadsiding other ships. You're like a battleship, and you're just blowing up other ships in the sea. Nothing really to it. Explosive 2-player action. I seriously doubt that. Fast 3D ship-to-ship combat. Choose from 8 heavily armed ships, including destroyers, battleships, aircraft carriers, and subs. 15 special weapons, including F-14s, cruise missiles, and torpedoes. Intense real-time strategy missions. Choose from over 30 fleets, or customize your own. 50 single-player and 25 multiplayer missions. I got it for dirt cheap, so I wasn't going to complain. But yeah, this thing is like broken on the top, and the hinges are gone, so it just kind of falls apart. But the game was in pretty good condition, so I wasn't going to pass it up. Like when you see Saturn games in the wild, like at a place like Half Price Books of all places, you just get them. So that's that one. It's also available on the PlayStation, I do believe. My buddy picked this up for me at Gen Con. He sent me a picture of some vendor in the dealer's hall at Gen Con that had like a table full of video games. And he was like, hey, do you want any of these? And I was like, yeah, I'll take that, and that, and I'll pay you when I see you. One of them was Blackfire. I've not played this, but from what it looks like on the back, it is a helicopter in the cockpit shooter. It does not look great, which is why when I have not played it, because when he gave it to me, I was just kind of like, oh, what's this game like? Oh, okay. All right. Made a mistake. Very explosive action. Next up, we have Bubble Bobble and the Rainbow Islands, also featuring Rainbow Islands. These are basically the arcade versions of Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands, the official sequel to Bubble Bobble. I'm a big Bubble Bobble fan, so I had to pick this one up. I got this off of my buddy Felix the Brett from the Batter Rad Nerdatorium on Facebook. He sends me like text every once in a while when he gets like a huge lot of something, and he knows that I'm interested in like buying stuff for the Saturn. So he sent me a text, and he was just like, "Oh, I got all this stuff. Do you want any of it?" And I was like, "Well, if you get any of the Mortal Kombat games, let me know." But Bubble Bobble looks pretty good. Never thought I'd ever hear myself say that out loud, but yeah, there's that. So if you like Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands, two awesome like arcade platformers, this is the combo for you. Even the cover is stupid. Stupid. Here are I got both of these at the Midwest Gaming Classic, 2 different years apart. One of them is Bug. This was like a really early Saturn game, and I do remember having this one pretty early on when I got a Saturn. And it's a 3D platformer. The thing about it is like you can move into the background and the foreground. There's like always like if you're walking along, there'll be like a path to go into the background, and the camera will actually follow you and keep you the same size, but the background just changes as you move into the back of the screen or toward the screen. It's okay. It's very clunky. Most of these like early 3D platformers and stuff like that were very clunky, but it's fun. I remember always having a good time with it. Good enough that they made a sequel, Bug 2, and it's more of the same, except this one has more into the screen type of action. You can kind of see it in that screen right here, that you can actually like run into the screen in a few stages. But yeah, I picked this one at the Midwest Game. Oh my God, I can't talk. Midwest Gaming Classic. I think the second one that I went to when I was still in the tents. And I found this like at the first table I went to. I was just like, oh, look, there's some Saturn stuff. Oh shit, Bug 2, I need that. So there's that. And then here's one of the expensive ones. I had to piece this back together because let me tell you a story about how Chris is an idiot. So back in the day, when I repurchased my Saturn, the second time I bought one, and I was buying the games, when I first had the Saturn, I didn't have a whole lot of consoles. I had the Super Nintendo, threw away the boxes for the games. I just had the cartridges and like these little cartridge holder things. You know, I had a Game Gear, cartridges are small, threw the boxes away. I had a Game Boy, threw the boxes away, just kept the cartridges. Didn't have the Super Nintendo or the Genesis at that point. I had the 3DO. Those games just came in jewel cases. I threw those boxes away because they were huge and unwieldy. So when it came to like the Saturn, and I didn't do it with the PlayStation, but I did it with the Saturn, because they came in these big ass boxes, Chris threw the boxes away. I would take the game out, put it in a jewel case, keep the manual, keep the artwork from the back, and throw the big ass jewel case away because I didn't have room for them. I had like this, it was like a media center case that was maybe like just higher than waist high, that opened up like a walk-in closet kind of thing, and like I only had room in there for like CD or jewel cases. So I would just throw these games in a jewel case, keep the manual and the back art, throw those under my bed in like this tote that I had, and that was it. That was how I stored them. So when I sold everything in 2011, when I lost my job, there was certain games that I refused to sell because I knew that they were still worth something, and I wanted to keep them because I didn't want to have to buy them back if I ever got back into collecting again. Luckily, I did that. The only thing was they were not in their original cases anymore. They were in these stupid jewel cases. So I've had to piece together a bunch of these games that I still had left from when I had to sell everything when I lost my job. One of which is Burning Rangers. So I still had my disc. I still had the manual. I somehow lost all the back art. I'm pretty sure when I moved out of the house, I lost it somewhere because I had them for like all of the old games that I had, and they're all gone. So I have been trying to find the original back art for this game for years. And then I went on eBay one day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a search for like this kind of thing. And I found a couple of them that I needed. And this was one of them. And it's not some reproduction. It's actually the legitimate article. Some guy was basically selling his copy of Burning Rangers in pieces. He was like, here's the game. Here's the manual. Here's the back art. I just needed the back art. So that did it for me. But yeah, this is one of the more expensive games for the console. It was one of the last games released for the console, if I remember correctly. Not the last, but one of the last ones. This was developed by Sonic Team. It's a 3D platformer, but you're playing as like this futuristic fireman who is going into these buildings and putting out fires. And when you put out the fire, the fire turns into a gem that you collect. What? It's really fun. I like it. I didn't like it when I first got it. I was like, this is stupid. But now when I play it, I have a blast. I need to sit down and like actually play through this whole damn game. But I really enjoy it. But it just took me forever to get this back on the shelf in this form. And that's why I have it in a protector. Because I'm like, the amount of effort that it took to put this thing back together, goddamn. Goddamn. Whew. And the other game that we spent all night playing at that party was Bust a Move 2 Arcade Edition. What the hell? I had played Bust a Move in the arcade plenty of times. I don't understand why this one, like, it was just, the casualness of it must have just appealed to everybody, because like everybody was playing it that night. Even the people who weren't really video game people were playing it. So whatever, but it's just like all the other Bust a Move games out there where you have a bunch of colored bubbles at the top of the screen and you have to shoot colored bubbles at them. Once you match up 3, they pop. And they just keep on coming in waves. And it is super fun, but I mean, like after a while, you're like, okay, this is getting kind of tiresome. Nope. I want to say that we had this game in my Saturn for a good 3 hours, like in one shot. We played it for 3 straight hours. Whatevs. Still a fun game though. I like it. I like it a lot. There's another one that I pieced back together. No, actually, there's 2 more that I pieced. No, 3 more. No, 2 more that I pieced back together. You might see. No, you're going to see both of them in the next stream. Here is one of the launch games that I picked up with my Saturn when I first got it. That is Clockwork Knight. It's a platformer where you're playing as like this little toy knight character whose main weapon is a key. Very reminiscent of a Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts there. Copyright infringement. And it's very clunky because this is also the kind of Silicon graphics kind of thing like Donkey Kong Country. And it's very reminiscent of like a Donkey Kong game, the way it kind of plays. But it is very, like, your jumps are very floaty and all that. It was fun back in the day. I used to love this. And, like, there's a really cool thing you do when you have to unlock a door. You stick your sword into it, and then your body turns to turn the key. Instead of just turning the key, your whole body does, like, a little loop-de-loop thing. It's kind of, or does, like, your body does a barrel roll. It's weird. But it's pretty fun. You're playing through, like, a kid's bedroom, so there's other toys you have to fight. I really enjoyed it. It was, one of the launch games. Can't go wrong. There's a sequel to that I want, but it is really expensive. What? The Black Mar? What are you talking about? Oh, the barcode? Oh, the person who owned it before me, because I got this copy off of eBay, they like wrote on, it's like a marker on the case. I can just wipe that off with some cleaner. I have a couple that have that on the case. It's just the case, though. It's not on the insert. If it was on the insert, I would have been pissed. That's probably why I haven't removed it, because I don't really care. It's on the case. Whatevs. Here is a game that I found at my old local game store. I found this at People Play Games, and I was like, oh, cool, a one-on-one fighting game for the Saturn, another one that I've never played. Oh, I need to have that. Oh. Criticom. This is also available on the PlayStation. This one is by, what is it, Kronos? No, well, Victor Kai released it, but it's by this company called Kronos, and it's trying to be like another Virtual Fighter, Battle Arena Toshinden style polygon one-on-one fighting game, and it is really clunky. It is janky as all hell. It feels like it was basically unfinished when it was released. Like they just basically said, well, we need to make money, so, ship it out. Yeah, it's very sci-fi-y, and it feels a little bit like some of the characters remind me a lot of characters from Killer Instinct, but it's just not good. But I've kept it because, why not? Saturn games are hard to come by. Get a drinky drink. Next up is Crusader No Remorse. I do believe this is also available on the PlayStation. This I got for... Well, I picked this up at my logo at People Play Games when it was still around. And usually they would have like more expensive Saturn games behind the counter, but they actually had this on the shelf, which is why I picked it up. I was like, okay, well, whatever. I think I picked this up for like $50 or something. But it's a isometric, not a run and gun, but it's like an action game. It's kind of like playing... God, what can I compare it to? It's not like a Contra game because it's not that fast paced. I don't know, Loaded, maybe. But it's a port of a PC game. I got this for my video game for the Backlog Roulette on the Super Enabler Brothers podcast. And I've made it a decent way through it. And it takes a little while to get used to the controls because, like I said, this used to be a PC game. So they had to map like the keyboard controls onto the Saturn gamepad. And there's like weird button combinations. And it took a long time before I got used to like cycling through my weapons and doing all the different tasks and stuff you need to do sometimes. But it was actually pretty fun, even though the lead character on the cover looks like Jango Fett's derpy cousin. But whatever. It's fun. I like it. I need to finish playing through it. I got like maybe halfway through it, I want to say. Which one? Crusader No Remorse? Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just, it looks very 90s PC. So it plays a lot like Shadowrun. I mean, the way the perspective works is like Shadowrun. Next up, we have Cyber Speedway. This, I think, was another launch game. It's kind of like trying to be Wipeout that was available on the PlayStation at the time. It's a futuristic racing game, but the cars are like right in your face. Like the car that you're playing as isn't like a little tiny car like in Wipeout. The car is massive. It takes up a big chunk of screen real estate, which is kind of why the game feels kind of hard. It's hard to play, I guess. I remember Michael B. the Game Genie used to play this with like his kid, or what was it, his kid or his nephew or something like that on his stream. Not his stream. He was playing this with some kid in one of his videos, and that was when I was like, "Oh, that game looks kind of fun." And then I played it myself. And I was like, "Not really." But you know, whatever. It's for 2 players, so whatevs. Yeah, the isometric view is cool. Next up, we have Cyber Troopers Virtual On. I used to just call this Virtual On, but apparently the official title for this is Cyber Troopers Virtual On, so now I have it in the C's and not the V's. But I used to play this in the arcade all the time. There was a nickel arcade that I used to go to in the early 2000s that had like the actual sit-down coin op of this with like 2 seats. And me and my friends used to just play the shit out of it. My buddy who has the Virtual On controller, and me and him used to go head-to-head in this all the time. And it's really cool. It's like a mech one-on-one fighting game. It's kind of arena-based and in 3D, so it's not like 2D. It's actually like full 3D. Like you can roam throughout the entire arena. You usually have like one projectile attack and a bunch of like up-close and personal attacks with like some sort of a weapon. And it's really fun. I like it a lot. There's multiple sequels to this game that I knew nothing about. I did not realize that there was a sequel to this on the Saturn. I did not know that there was a sequel to this on the PlayStation 2. So, it's still going. Sega, get on it. Let's get one for like the new consoles. I want to see a PS5 Virtual On game. Next up is another one that I got from my buddy Felix the Brett. And this is one of the games in like the big lot that I got with the what was it? Damn it. I cannot remember what game it was that I bought from him. Oh, Bubble Bobble. Dark Legend. I haven't played this a whole lot, but it is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. And from what I understand, it's not that great. I have not spent a lot of time with it, so I can't comment. But I always thought it was kind of funny. That looks like Goro's on the cover. Just Goro with 2 arms. Copyright infringement. But, I saw Data East, and I was like, always curious about the game, so I picked it up. He gave me a really good deal in it, so I couldn't complain. Here's one of my favorites. So this was the other game. I bought 3 games at launch for the Saturn. This was the other one, and that is Daytona USA. I used to play the shit out of this, mostly because of the music. This game has probably one of the most unintentionally funny soundtracks. These songs in this game are stupid. Hang on 1 second because I'm going to do something funny. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, everybody. Apparently, now because of the crash that just happened, it makes it so that I can't log on to my account with Firefox anymore. So now I'm using Google Chrome, and it looks like everything's running really slow. So let me know if it is coming through okay. Am I coming through slow? Am I coming through okay? Like I look really dark all of a sudden? I don't get it. So let me know if you can hear me, if everything's working fine. Maybe, possibly. Is it broke? Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Yep, good. Okay, fine. So what I was trying to do was play this. Because I was talking about Daytona USA. The music in this game is special. Guy speaking in broken English, and it's amazing. I love it. But the game itself is really fun. It was an arcade racing game. I played it all the time in the arcade, and I absolutely love the home version. I played this probably more than any other game that I had at the time. It was just the weirdest thing. It was only 3 or 4 race courses you could play on, but I didn't care. It was just super fun. It's very arcadey, very goofy. The music was basically what made me kept coming back, and I used to blast it. And my mother used to get so mad at me blasting this in the house. She was just like, "I don't want to hear that stupid shit anymore." I'm like, "I don't give a crap. Keep on walking, lady." But yeah, awesome. But I never knew that there was another game that came out for the console, and that is Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition. So apparently, Daytona USA was released unfinished, and this is the complete version. It has all the same shit, and it actually has multiplayer and stuff like that. So there's that. But I guess there's another version of it out there that has internet play or something. So is that right? Oh, that was in the middle of a sentence. Wow, that was classy. Yeah, I think there's another version of this out there that's super expensive. But this is the better looking and playing version of the game, so had to have that. Then we have one of the other really expensive games for this console, and I found this at my old retro store, People Play Games. And another one that they had on the shelf that they probably shouldn't have. Yeah, the broadband adapter. Yeah, the super rare third version. Yeah, I will never be able to afford that. But we got Die Hard Arcade. I used to play this in the arcade a lot, and I was super thrilled that it was coming home. I never actually had this back in the day. I didn't play this on the Saturn until 2014 or 2015 when I bought this copy. But it's a 3D beat-em-up that's actually called Dynamite Deca or Dynamite Cop in Japan. Over here, they licensed Die Hard to change it into fitting into that movie, but honestly, it has nothing to do with the movie. Not at all. But there's like I said, it's a 3D beat 'em up, but there's also these quick time event things when you're going in between rooms where you can clothesline somebody if you hit the right button at the right time. But it's a super fun game. I have the sequel for it for the Dreamcast. It's super fun. I love this one. That's an all-time fave. And then this is a repro. I actually have a repro for the Saturn. I almost called it the Dreamcast. I have a repro for the Saturn. Actually, I have two of them. This is the first of the two. So there's this dude on Facebook I saw called, was it Pipe Dreams Games? I think he's on Instagram also. And he makes Americanized, translated versions of Japanese exclusive Saturn games on a disc for us to play. As long as you have the action replay thing that I was talking about that you can plug into the cartridge port on the Saturn, it'll play these repros without a problem. And this game is a sequel to a game we did get over here that is super expensive normally. I can probably stop playing Daytona. But we never got this one over here, and I wanted to get it because I'm probably never going to be able to afford the first game in the series. But we have Dragon Force 2. And I think it has a subtitle, but I can't. God Forsaken Land. It's a strategy RPG from Working Designs. Mondane, you here, bro? Working Designs, bro. What innovators? Yeah, I know, right? And the thing about this Pipe Dreams Games is he gives you the option. Because we all know that when Working Designs was releasing games for the Saturn, they always had like gold printing on their the back art and the manuals and all that kind of stuff. Well, whenever I bought a game from this guy, he says, hey, do you want to pay a few extra dollars and get the gold printing? Or do you want it to just be flat? And I'm like, give me that gold, man. Give me all the gold. I don't know how he's able to print them like this, but he does, because if you look where it says strategy RPG, it's lighting up. It's reflecting. It is gold. Even the Sega Saturn is reflective. It's like silver. I don't know how he does it, but even on the back, all of the wording is gold. It is the coolest thing. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. Also, he doesn't sell them with the case. He usually just sells you the back art, the manual, and the disc, and he sends them to you like in an envelope, and then you have to provide your own case, which is why I bought a whole shitload of extra cases that I have in my closet for this very thing. But it is a strategy RPG. I have not played it much. I just wanted to make sure that it worked, and it did. But I remember I did have Dragon Force back in the day originally, and I only played that a little bit as well. And it was a little too much for me when it came to, like, I never really done those strategy type of games. But yeah, this I had to have because, like, I'm never going to be able to afford the original Dragon Force, so at least I got that for dirt cheap. And who knows, maybe it's better than the original. This one is actually signed. I picked this up in the Midwest Gaming Classic in 2019, I think. Yeah, because in 2018 was the first year that it was at the hotel, at the convention center. That was the year that this guy was there signing everything, and then we went back the next year, and that was when I bought this version that was signed by him the previous year. We're talking Duke Nukem 3D, and this is signed by John St. John, who voices Duke Nukem. Hail to the king, baby. Yeah, I met him in person. He's a great guy. He was super fun and really nice and willing to do basically anything you asked of him. He wasn't even charging for autographs. He was just really anxious he just wanted to meet fans, which is really nice that they're not there for, like, give me all the monies. And my computer just crashed. Again, what is going on? Let me see. I'm going to have to load up again. I'll be right back. Again. I need to get a new computer, y'all. I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, yeah, there was a little small upcharge for getting the autograph version of this game from that dude at the convention. It wasn't John St. John I bought this from. This was a vendor who had John St. John sign the version that he was selling. Nobody bought it until I came along the next year. But it's a decent version of Duke Nukem. I don't know if it has like every level in it from the PC shareware versions and all that kind of stuff, but it plays just fine. Plays just like the Duke Nukem I remember playing on my dad's PC. That super fun, irreverent, yeah, whatever. It's an awesome first-person shooter. It's just really cool that I got the signed version. I remember I told Jason from Corpse Flood Gaming that I saw this at this dude's table, and he was like, "Oh, let's go over there and see what else he has." So as I'm standing there, I look at Jason. I was like, "If that's because this is on Saturday of the Saturday of the convention," I look at Jason. I'm like, "If this is still here tomorrow, I'll come back and I'll make a deal for it." And Jason like says loud enough that the dealer can hear me. "What? You want to buy that, but you want to come back tomorrow and make a deal?" And the guy goes, "Oh, I know you." And it was the same guy that was running it's the Atari Age table. I was telling you about that when I was buying all the Super Nintendo and Genesis games and whatnot from that dude who was selling games from one of the Atari Age 4 members who passed away. And they were trying to raise money for that guy's daughter to go to college. This was the same vendor. And he goes, "I remember you from last year. What do you want to pay for it?" And I was like, so I got a great deal on this. And I bought a bunch of other stuff too, because I was like, if he's willing to make a deal for this, I'm like, I'm going to maximize what I get. Next up, we have Enemy Zero, which is a sort of sequel to D. D that came out on the 3DO and the Saturn and the PlayStation, which was a horror, like Myst style game. This one is more sci-fi oriented. It plays exactly the same, where you're playing as Laura, and it's like Myst. Like you have like puzzles to solve, environmental puzzles and stuff like that. But this one is all sci-fi oriented. But it also stars Jill Cuniff from the band Luscious Jackson as the voice of Laura Lewis. What band is that again? I don't know. But yeah, this comes on multiple discs. I think this is like this is 4 discs. God damn. But D was a pretty long game, so is this one. But it's okay. It's not what I wanted in a sequel to D. I wanted more vampire stuff, but that's not what we got. But it's not terrible. The terrible one is D2 on the Saturn, or the Dreamcast. That game is poopy. You got a fan translation too. That's sweet. Next up, we have Fighters Megamix, which is kind of like Super Smash Brothers for the Sega crowd. So it's like a bunch of the fighting games that Sega released that were polygon based. They just did like a mashup of all the characters. So this has characters from Virtua Fighter 2 and Fighting Vipers. 11 characters from Virtua Fighter 2 and 11 characters from Fighting Vipers, plus 10 hidden characters, one of which is the car from Daytona. You can actually play as the car from Daytona in a one-on-one fighting game. It's Wheels Punch. It's a thing. Actually, a pretty cool game. This came out on the Tiger Gamecom too, and you can play as the car in that one. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty awesome that you have like all these different games combined into one. It's still kind of clunky for like a fighting game like this on this generation. The fighting games that were in 3D, we're still trying to find their footing. So, it's not the greatest, but it's still pretty cool. But I do like it. And speaking of that, we have Fighting Vipers, where fighters from this game are in this game. And it's more of the same. It's like this one is Virtua Fighter, but with like weapons. People have like tonfa and stuff like that instead of just punching and kicking. It's okay. It's basically Virtua Fighter. One kid has like rollerblades on or something, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's okay. I prefer Fighters Megamix. And then we've got Galactic Attack, and I think this is called Layer Section in Japan. This is another really expensive game, but I got this off of one of my friends on Facebook. Really cheap. It's before like everything shot up before COVID. And it is a vertically scrolling shmup that is really crazy because like you end up like going down further into the screen and like coming back up and stuff like that. It is really cool the way it works. It is super fun. It is really hard, but I absolutely love it. And I was really happy that I was able to get the copy of this into my collection before like the price shot up. But like visually, it's really impressive. The music is great. It's a really fun shmup. I absolutely love it. What's up, Vance? Whoop, whoop. Welcome. Running out of games to talk about here, guys. Next up, we have Galaxy Fight. This is another one that I was always seeing at my local shop at People Play Games. And they always had like multiple copies of this behind the counter, and one really busted up one on the shelf that you could actually like take down and buy. But I was like, I don't know about that. And it was also very overpriced. Usually, like the Saturn games, like the ones that I didn't really know about, like this, were like usually like maybe $15, maybe at the max 40. But they were always asking like 60 for this, and I was like, I don't know anything about it. You look at the back, and it's not the greatest looking one-on-one fighting game ever. It looks pretty cheap. So I was always kind of like, yeah. So then they shut down. And then when they opened back up for like one weekend, like a year later, because the building hadn't sold, everything was still in the shop for when they shut down. And they were like, we need to like clear this place out, so we're going to have like this deep discount weekend. Come in here and buy whatever you want. You can buy the lighting fixtures for a week here kind of thing. I went down there and I bought a bunch of crap, and this was one of them. The thing was, all the copies of this that they still had were behind the counter. And I was like, hey, can I get a copy of that Galaxy Fight game? And they were like, yeah, sure. And they gave me one of the busted ones. I'm like, nope, I want one of the other ones, because he had like 6 of them up there. I'm like, give me another one. And the guy gives it to me. I'm like, nope, this one's still busted up. Give me another one. And we kept going through them until we found one that had all the hinges on it. And the thing was, they had repriced it to $30. But because everything was discounted that day, and because the clerk that always gave me discounts when I was there was the guy ringing me up, he basically sold this to me for $20. So I was super thrilled about it. But yeah, it is not a good one-on-one fighting game. It is actually kind of craptastic. But whatever. Here's another. I think this was another launch game, but I got it a little bit after launch. It's called Gen War. And this is another one of those like in the tank shooter games. And it's okay. It has a really cool soundtrack, and there's like a lot of live action cutscenes. One of which has the actress who played Kristen in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 in it. And it's really, really strange. What's her name? Tuesday Night? She's in this. It's weird. Like, you see her in that movie, and then a couple years later, you see her in this. It's like, huh? Like, your career went nowhere. Because back then, acting in a video game was not something prestigious. It was kind of like making a really low budget, like direct-to-video softcore porn movie. But it's a decent game. It's a little bit like clunky, and the controls aren't the greatest, but I mean, it was fun for like, a launch game. And the last game I'm going to talk about today is Gun Griffin. And I got this at Freak Toys in, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, last year when I went and hung out with It's Rocket Sauce for my birthday. And they had this in their really expensive game case where the registers are, and I saw the spine. I was like, oh, can I take a look at that Gun Griffin game? And they're only selling it for like $35. And I was like, I don't care. I'll take it. And it's a mech shooter where you're inside the mech. You can see it up here where you got like the targeting reticle. And this thing keeps freezing up. But my computer is like crapping out tonight, man. Jesus. Luckily, this is the last game I'm talking about. Then I got to get this shit fixed up. I'll be right back again. Of course, this kind of stuff happens right before I'm planning like a really big D&D campaign that I'm going to be streaming with StreamYards. Of course, I guess it's a good thing that I'm using my laptop for most of it. But yeah, it's a pretty decent mech shooter. Kind of reminds me of that, not Mech Warrior. What was it called? There's like the big mech pods that they had at the Midwest Gaming Classic a couple years ago. I don't remember what it was. It's not Warhammer. God, I can't remember the name of it. Like Mech Warrior, I can't remember. There's like the arcade inside the cockpit mech game that you can play, which is like hugely multiplayer. It's like that, but not that great. But it's pretty cool. I like it. Anyway, yeah, I'm probably losing so many viewers tonight because this stupid computer is acting like a butthead. Tough Act to Follow. Armor Core? No. It's like one of the licensed ones, like Mech Warrior, like one of the tabletop RPGs. It was Mech Warrior and Battletech. Battletech, that's what it was. It was the Battletech Battle Pods. They had them at the Midwest Gaming Classic back in like 2018 and 2019. The line to get into them was really, really, really long, and Jason and I tried, but this didn't happen. But I did play them at a Dave & Buster's out here in the city back in like 2009. And like my first time playing with a bunch of people, and I kicked everyone's ass. Everyone was sitting there going like, how did you play? How did you beat us? You've never played this before. And I was like, natural ability. Battletech, yep. But that's it for the games tonight. It's probably a good thing since this damn computer is acting like a fool. I will have a new short up tomorrow, probably around 2 or 3-ish. And tomorrow night is the big Dungeons and Dragons stream, the one I've been planning for a few months. It's not going to be streaming on YouTube. It's going to be streaming on Twitch. So go and sign up for my Twitch page. It's twitch.tv/theoldassretrogamer, and the Old Ass Retro Gamer is one word. And I'm going to be streaming there tomorrow night at 8:30, and it goes as long as it takes until we finish the game tomorrow night. It'll probably be like a 3 or 4 hour type of thing. Like most times I've streamed the RPG stuff before. But it's super fun. I can't wait to do this. Mondane is one of the players tomorrow night. My buddy Nick is another one, and my buddy Noy is another player, and it's going to be super, super fun. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, go over to my Twitch channel and sign up, subscribe or follow or whatever it is that you do over there. I don't spend near enough time on Twitch to know the terminology. But yeah, new short tomorrow, and next Thursday, another live action. Oh my God, I need to go take a nap. Live stream, part 2 of Sega Saturnville. So stay tuned for that. Got some really cool stuff to show off in that video. Trust me. So I will talk to you. I am losing my freaking mind right now. I'm so tired, and I still got work to do in the other room. Yay me. I will talk to you all later. Stay safe. Glad that everybody came to hang out tonight. I'm super grateful that each and every one of you hangs out with me every week. I'll talk to you later. Chris, the Old Ass Retro Gamer, out. Stay safe, everybody. See you next week or tomorrow if you're going to be watching that. Twitch.tv/the Old Ass Retro Gamer. Do it!